Ali, Moyes picked Zouma last night. What was your initial reaction when you saw the team and he was in it?
I was surprised and disappointed, I've got to be honest, guys. I was listening to talkSPORT. There was a good, healthy discussion. Danny and Aid and all the guys were having their opinion on it. And almost to a man, they didn't think he should have been picked. I'm of that opinion too. However, whether we like it or not, money talks. And top 4 places and all that kind of stuff. That's the sad reality of it. But no, I have to say I was disappointed when I saw him in the starting lineup because I didn't think he should have been.
Laura, his reasoning, Moyes, was sort of the club are going to deal with it, and it's then, it is, for me, he's one of the better players, so therefore he was available for selection, so therefore I'm going to pick him. He's one of our better players. Do you just think that, given what happened, that Moyes should have just been a little bit firmer and gone, no, I'm sorry, I've got to take you out of the team?
Yeah, personally, I do. I was quite surprised to see him in the lineup. I thought at least they might take him out for one game, perhaps. I understand the importance of the game. Footballers are assets to clubs, expensive assets, and he's been brought in because of his ability and because they need him. But when a footballer steps out of line, it's so much like that. Yeah. This is where the lines between football profiting and moral standards get a little bit blurred. We see it a lot in football, but then we also see other examples in football where the lines aren't blurred and the decisions that are taken by managers and perhaps the hierarchy at football is quite a strong stance. We see Brendan Rodgers, and I always have a lot of respect for Brendan Rodgers when certain things happen in clubs, COVID rules are broken or something like that, and they have to take a stance, and that's the decision that they make. I always remember as well Nigel Pearson. It was back when Watford were in real trouble of being relegated. I think they did actually get relegated that season as well. But Nigel Pearson was maybe just a couple of games away from losing his job. And Andre Gray, there was a birthday party that had been thrown for him. 2 other players attended it as well. And he cut those players out the squad. And obviously, he really needed them at the time. And he was furious about it. So we've seen these situations where managers can take a stance. Also, Thomas Tuchel at Chelsea with Romelu Lukaku with the interview. So we know it can happen. And I've seen lots of examples of people on social media saying, yeah, but in that situation they've got bigger squads, they've got this, they've got that and stuff like that. And I suppose in a way it's the same kind of argument as David saying he's one of our better players, so we need him, because it almost suggests that if you're a lesser player, or a less important player to the team, if you make a mistake like that, or if you are deemed to be needing a punishment for something, you'll get punished, but he won't because he's a better player. It's a strange message to send out, I think. David Moyes himself was saying, look, I'm an animal lover and I'm disappointed as well, but I've got a job to do. So it's funny, isn't it? Where do the moral lines in football stand, and how much can you bend those lines, whether you're in need or not? It's confusing, isn't it, for us all watching as well? I don't know a single player that was, not a single player, sorry, I don't know a single person watching that was like, oh, okay, cool, I understand that decision in a moral sense. In a footballing sense, you can understand it. And that's where even those words coming out my mouth, when you're saying in a football sense you can understand a decision like that, it's like, wow, when did football become its own little universe with its own little moral compass that is not really a moral compass at all? What can you say about it? It's just all round, it's just a bit of a mess, isn't it, Ali?
Shambles, absolute shambles. No winners. I don't think it'll go away, would you? I really don't. I think the reaction, I spoke to Andy Townsend on the phone last night. I think Andy was at the game, was doing the game. He said, as you can imagine, the reaction was from the supporters was pretty vocal. They were making their opinions and views very well heard. It's just a horrible situation, and probably sport and football in particular. You're right, Woodgie. It firmly believes it can live in its own wee world, when things like this happen. And it, excuse me, it's wrong. It is totally wrong. However, as disappointed as we are in West Ham's decision to play Kurt Zouma, can we say we're really, really surprised? Really surprised. I know I said I was surprised and disappointed, but when you look at it in the cold light of day, it's money, effectively. That's what it's about. It's about money. That decision's about money and whether West Ham can make the top four.
Well, here's the thing. In football, you're either a role model or you're not. You can't have it both ways. So if you are played after something like this where the world feels that you should be punished, you might not feel it in a sense of your team. You might be getting those games, but you might feel it elsewhere. You might feel it in sponsorship deals because they might deem you to not be a role model anymore. And I know I was listening to Jenny Barsby's bulletin.
Yep.
I know that potentially there are sponsorship deals that might be in doubt now because of those actions. So I suppose in one way or another, he might feel a bit of a punishment. David Moyes was saying the club are going to deal with it internally. We might not never find out what that is. That might be a fine that to Premier League footballers don't really mean that much. But we'll have to see about it. But yeah, it might be the sponsorship deals. It might be those big sponsors of the club that actually are the ones that have to stand up and that feel like they want to stand up and say, no, we don't want that name associated with us anymore because we don't like his actions and we don't like the way that this was handled by the club as well.
talkSPORT Breakfast with Laura Woods, Monday to Wednesday mornings 6 till 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.